It's always hard to catch a break with the weather. Been sunny all week, getting chores done in the evening, and then the big one that I was going to do today, it decides to rain, so I'm doing a small one, and that's going to be upgrading my 1978 MEC 600 Junior to 3-inch shells. So there's the 3-inch kit, but what you can do is then you can also get the short kit that would be for converting to 2.5-inch shells, and you can install that so you can switch between 2 3/4 and 3-inch. I don't really have a need for 2.5 20 gauge, so I'm going to install these two kits on this old 1978. So first thing I got to do is take this bolt out of the bottom and raise it, and then I got to start swapping out the die. And just, if you see a dog pop up in this chair, this is my dog's chair, and that's where he sits. So if he just pops up through the video and sits there, that's what he's there for. There's also a longer screw and a spacer to space your primer cedar down. I should note that the short kit is sold as a 12 and 20, so it's got two different shell plates in there. And then the 3/8 extension for the 20 gauge is old style, and then 1982 revision. So I need the old style on this because this is now just a spare part. And I forgot to mention there's 2 holes in the stem and then 2 holes in the frame here, so that you can go from like 2.5. So if you did the top hole, bottom hole, that'd be like 2.5. Then bottom hole is 2 3/4. Then top hole I think is 3-inch, and then then I think it can go up to like 3.5 or something like that. So depending which combination of this hole and this hole, and then in the stem which hole, is how you get your height. Where, and then this is how you fine tune it. This is the fine tuning for, in the end, once I get a shell in here and I have the thickness of the brass in here, or I mean steel, I'll be able to set this up final. But odd thing too, so that extra bolt that I saw in the box, I was like, well, it just came with the kit. Someone had the wrong bolt in this, so the bolt that was in the box is for doing shorter stuff, because this already had, when I pulled the bolt out of this kit that's supposed to go in here, it's this length already, so I really didn't have to even change that, which means you don't have to undo this whole cam thing up here. Kind of leave it set and just adjust it in here by like 1/4 inch, and I mean I'll have to fine tune it, but that's next step. I'm going to skip this. I got to get a big screwdriver out of the garage and put a wrench on it to get that out, but I'll do that here in a bit. Putting the short kit on is pretty easy. You basically lift the spring up, take out this plate, put the short kit in, put the other plate on, and that part's done. And you're just raising these pieces because obviously with these dies set up, they'll do 3-inch or 2 3/4 or 2. It's over here where you have to worry about your crimp stations and proper height. So this goes on here. You can kind of see it's a unifit thing. It's got some screw holes that I won't be using. I could use the original shell holder, but you can see there's been a redesign. What they did is they made it so that it doesn't really matter the thickness here, and you don't have to worry about these little tabs and things like that, how things are going to work. So I'm probably going to use this newer one because it's basically a little more plug and play than trying to use the original one. It just pops under the spring like that. So now it's set, even though it's got 3-inch dies over here, it's set for 2 3/4 crimping over here. So I can still, and then it's just a matter if you lift this spring up and pop this out, and then you can switch back to 3-inch. The newer ones, you don't have to do this, but you know, it's a perfectly good press. I couldn't see why I wouldn't just upgrade it a little bit. Yeah, I had to do the old screwdriver with a wrench on it trick to get that loose, and now I've got the spacer in here so that it spaces out correct for putting a primer in. I'm gonna start. Gotta get a 3-inch case out here, get this set up, and then mainly set it up for this part of it. This is pretty easy to adjust. Getting this to where it for sure primes, but besides depriming, it also has a function of kicking the case out of the sizer. So I've got to adjust, and there's an internal adjustment. So I've only got this kind of hand tight right now. Once I get that length adjusted properly, then I'll screw that on and set this up for its final adjustment. So I've been playing with it, making some 3s. Made a few 2 3/4. But I have some high brass 20 gauge showing up. And what always happens with those, whether it's 12 or whatever it is, high brass, sometimes it won't quite work on your system. So I went to the store and replaced the 3-inch. This is actually 4 inches overall. I wanted a 4 1/4 because that's really all I need, but a 4 1/2 stainless is what got put in there, and it works now. So this is a piece of, it's not the right length or anything, but it's high brass. And so I just wanted to show that it's functional. So you can come down, fully size it, and then it actually kicks out. The last little bit gets stuck in there. I could probably shorten, it's not hurting anything, but I could probably shorten it just a tiny bit. But I'll leave it that way because I don't know exactly the height of the high brass that's showing up.